Hey, what's up guys? John here. You will not believe what's going to unfold in America over the next 10 months. It's going to be worse than 1929, at least according to the facts, according to the data that I've compiled here. I mean, looking at what's unfolded in 2008 has set the stage for where we are right now. And there's a clock that's ticking. And this clock, once it hits a certain date, which I'm going to share with you in this video, everything is done. Everything is changed forever. Very interesting things that are unfolding here. In December of last year, I said that there will not be any rate cuts at all this year. If anything, we'll see rates going up 25 basis points, possibly even 50 basis points. But at the very least, we're not going to see rate cuts. And at that time, a lot of people thought, no, we're going to see rate cuts in April. We're going to see them in March. We're going to see them, 3-4 cuts all year.
Hinted towards rate cuts during 2024, begin as early as March.
Up to 7 rate cuts in 2024.
3 rate cuts this year.
Everything is going to be great. We're going to have a soft landing. Well, wholesale inflation unexpectedly jumps today to the highest level in a year. And I believe we're going to continue to see these headlines to further paint the narrative and picture that, the job's not done and we can't cut rates and we need to do what we have to do to save the economy. We're going to see this until it's too late. So I'm going to break this down for you. I'm going to show you the videos. I'm going to show you the facts and show you exactly what's going on to help you and position you for what I think is going to be a massive structural and societal change in America to the likes of which we've never before seen. Please hit the like button and hit the like button. YouTube will share this content to educate other people about what's going on in America and our economy. And if you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself what I believe is going to be the greatest contraction of credit that we've ever seen, we'd love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative item on your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free call for tomorrow, for Wednesday. Take a look at this. So, this is shocking. Inflation at a wholesale level rose much more than expected in April at the latest sign that price pressures within the economy remain elevated and difficult to tame. Now, this is what they say wholesale inflation is, right? They say it went all the way up here and came all the way down here. Now, many people would argue that it went all the way up here and then it stayed up here and possibly even went further up here. But this is what is happening, according to this is what they're saying. And Jerome Powell may not rule out future rate hikes as the Fed gets ready to meet stubborn inflation. This came out 2 weeks ago, the 28th of April. Then Powell says inflation has been higher than he thought today and expects rates to hold steady. Came out today. Then Time Magazine, are U.S. interest rates high enough to beat inflation? The Fed isn't so sure. Bloomberg, interest rate hikes are possible, right? And so all this is, just coming out, came out yesterday, and the inflation data came out today. Now, when I said that rates aren't going to be cut, a lot of people in the comments saying, John, that's crazy. That's not going to happen. Kind of saying like I was tinfoil hat saying, rates aren't going to be cut because everyone was saying that was going to happen. But let's look at what happened in 2008 and how this is identical. It's more dramatic now than it was back then. Look at this.
Said if we do not.
Ben Senna.
The chairman of the Fed said if we do not act now, we will not have an economy by Monday.
Okay, so at that time, Lehman Brothers was failing. AIG needed a bailout. They thought that everything was going to basically shut down if they did not get this bailout. And so as this unfolded, this is what happened. And this happened last year in March with Silicon Valley, Signature Bank, First Republic, PacWest getting acquired by Bank of California. All these problems, the same policy. Now we have Bank Term Funding Program, which, expired March 11th of this year. Then they use something called TARP, T-A-R-P. Look at this.
But in the end, Congress finally passed Paulson's bill. Paulson now had $700 billion known as TARP, Troubled Asset Relief Program.
Troubled Asset Relief Program. Well, the Bank Term Funding Program, what they did was they told all of these banks, hey, look, you're holding all these assets that are marked down 30, 40, 50% due to the interest rates in which, we've done. And we'll give you market value, based on what your former market value was. We'll pay you 100 cents on the dollar for this. And forget any of these losses that you may have if you were to, mark to market these assets and try to sell them now. So, they said, what, this is what we're going to do. We're going to help you. And so they basically they forced these banks, they have no other alternative but to take the money. Well, in 2008, this is what happened. If you look at this.
Regulator is sitting right next to me. And if you don't take this money on Monday morning, you will be declared capital deficient.
That's a chairman, Wells Fargo. So they had 9 banks they brought into a room and they said, look, all of you guys are going to be taking this $700 billion. And Wells Fargo says, we don't want this money. We don't want it. And they said, well, if you don't take this money, you're going to be declared capital deficient. And so they ended up taking this money. They said, look, there's no provisions. We just own a stake in these banks. We own a stake in the bank. And, you can pay yourselves increased salaries. You don't have to bail out these bad mortgages. You have to take the money. And so they ended up taking this money. And it reminds me of kind of what's happening now with bank term funding. So the Fed says 1,804 banks and other institutions tapped the emergency lending facility. And so this situation, $165 billion in loans, they have 1 year to pay it back. And so you think about this. They have terms up to a year. So if they took it out March 10th, right before the end, they would have until, they have 365 days until the end of the year. So they have until March 9th. And so when you think about this of 2025, you think about this, where we're at right now, we are going to see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of banks unable to be able to pay back these the BTFP. And so these banks are going to start folding, presenting a massive, massive crisis that we're going to be walking into. And when you see what the billionaires are doing right now, some of them are getting crushed. Look at this guy right here. He's taking a massive loss. And look at this. Billionaire real estate tycoon is facing another foreclosure tied to trophy New York office tower. Foreclosure was triggered after Charles Cohen defaulted a $130 million commercial mortgage-backed security debt tied to 750 Lexington. The Cohen family acquired the building in the 80s. The second foreclosure filing in a matter of weeks. And so this building, and then he has this one here, it's facing another foreclosure, $130 million. You have all of these deals that are just going south. And who's on the hook? A lot of these smaller regional banks that took out that bank term funding program, that capital. And so it's very, very fascinating because when you look at what regional banks are going through, because they hold 70% of all commercial real estate debt. And a lot of these commercial real estate properties are already seeing massive, massive markdowns on their valuations due to high interest rates, higher insurance, higher taxes, a tighter lending environment. It's more pressure on these regionals. And so it's just presenting a massive opportunity for some of these billionaires to step in. On top of this, they're seeing all-time highs on defaults on credit cards. You're starting to see real problems. And Henry Kravis, some people you can just look at and you can see, fierceness. You can see intelligence. Henry is one of these guys, right? He's the co-founder of KKR, one of the largest private equity firms in the world. Here's what he said about where we're going and what's happening right now. And before I even show you that, this is one of the largest real estate investors in America. And the CEO of Starwood Capital, $115 billion in assets under management. He said that I think people are looking at these cracks, and you're going to wake up and see these cracks develop. You're going to see regional banks fail every day, or not every week, maybe 2 a week. This isn't some fear-monger, economist. He's one of the most successful real estate investors in America. He's saying this. This guy, Henry Kravis, another one of the most fiercest and I would argue one of the most intelligent investors, he paved the way for private equity. He paved the way for private equity in the 80s. If you know private equity, you know M&A, you know anything about finance, you know who this guy is. And what he says is, note that KKR recently announced acquisition of student housing project from Blackstone, and they said, report notes, current challenges of maturing debt and peaking supply are cyclical rather than secular. The secular trend is towards more demand, not less. Performance has traditionally remained stable through economic cycles. As owners come under more pressure to sell assets, we see an exciting opportunity to come buy high-quality properties below replacement cost. And what that means, replacement cost, it's the cost of the value of the land plus the cost today to build it. Add those two numbers up, and that would be the replacement cost on something new. But they're buying, pre-existing, so depending on the asset, the age of the property, the location, all these different things, And nowadays, location plays a very, very large role in replacement costs per insurance companies. But when you start to look at this, they're going to build up their formulas. They're going to be able to go out there and buy them at a much lower cost basis and achieving attractive long-term yields. They say a temporary period of oversupply may provide more attractive entry points. The reason for it, oversupply means sagging rents, falling rents, and a higher interest rate environment. It's going to just present a massive, massive wealth transfer that I've been discussing. Owners who carry their investments through the next 2 years are poised to benefit from the sustained structural demand and a pronounced shortage of new supply starting in 2026. Scale players will see opportunities first and have the freedom to deploy without much leverage, an essential component to success in this environment. So, this is what the most successful investors in America are saying. This is what has already happened by law. BTFP, 1,804 banks on the hook. They all have to pay it back. They all have to pay it back. You think about it, last year, what, 4 banks, 5 banks went under? Talking about 1,800 banks over the next 10 months. There's just no way we're going to see this soft landing. We're going to see fear. And you might not see it now because you hear a lot of people talking about GameStop and, acting as if we're going back to, the 2020, Dogecoin mania. We're not. It's going to turn off like a light switch. It's a game of musical chairs, economic musical chairs. There's 3 seats. Private equity is they're holding 2 seats, and Main Street's trying to get their butt on a seat, but not everybody on Main Street is going to. I think that if people play their cards right, they really, really get out of high interest rate consumer credit card debt. They have a game plan. They're accumulating either cash right now, or they're working for a great company, or they have a business that they're really working on scaling up. But they're playing the defense right now, playing strategic defense. And if you do, you're going to be able to go out there and I believe pick up some really, really, really depressed assets at depressed valuations, some really great deals. So what do you think about this entire situation? If you have any if you have any credit issues, we'd love to help you. At my company, greatcreditfast.com. That's greatcreditfast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, any issue at all in your credit report, go to greatcreditfast.com. If you have great credit, it makes things a lot easier to get funding for real estate, business loans. Go to greatcreditfast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free call for tomorrow. Catch you next video.